Let's talk about the QStringList. Now, this is a funny name. It's kind of combining two things we've heard of, strings and lists, and it is exactly what it says. It's a list of strings. Note, these are not arrays. We've highlighted arrays very early on in this course, and I personally hate arrays. When I said there's a much better way, we're talking about lists or containers. Now, we're going to talk about QStringList because it's so flexible and it does exactly what it says it does. So I'm going to take QStringList, just grab this. Let's go down here and let's say QString, and let's say data equals, and let's just give it some sort of string. Hello world, how are you? So what do we have here is just a simple sentence. Okay. Now I want to make a QStringList. Let's call this LST. I'm going to say data.split. Remember our old split function from our QString video. And you notice it's returning a QStringList. So all we're really going to do here is give it a separator here. And I'm going to say, okay, separate that by the space. So what it's doing in the background is it's looking at the string. It's saying, oh, here's a string, here's a string, here's a string, here's a string, here's a string. And it's ignoring that separator. And then it's returning a list of those strings. So now instead of one variable, you have one variable that contains 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different strings. This is, wow, powerful. I mean, I absolutely love that. So we're going to say LST, and let's QInfo that out, see what it looks like. And sure enough, you notice this is the confusion right here, QList. I thought we were working with the QString. This is a little bit confusing. What's happening under the hood is, well, QStringList and QList are slightly different in previous versions, and they've been kind of merging things towards each other. So if we click that and highlight it, see the QStringList class provides a list of strings, inherits from QList strings. So there is a template going on here, is what I'm trying to drive home. If you need something other than a string list, use QList and then provide the data type. We'll talk about QList a little bit more later on, but understand what's going on here is QStringList is inheriting that. That's why fundamentally it looks different when you try to print it out. From there, we can do something like this for each, and then we want to know for each QString, call this str, and this is going to be in our list. I just want to print out each individual string. So I'm going to say QInfo. And let's go ahead, save and run and see that in action. And it's got each individual string. Hello world, how are you? And you know they're individual strings because there's quotes surrounding each and every one of them. So that is a very easy way to break a string apart into a usable list of some kind. Now let's say we want to do something like sort it. So I'm going to say lst.sort, and we're going to say cute, and we want the case insensitive. You could have done sensitive, but you're going to get a different result than me. And then I'm going to say, let's just grab this. And run it. See what this does now. So now it is sorted case insensitive, R, hello, how, world, you. Completely different. So now you can manipulate the data inside the list. This is very, very cool. Now, let's say we want to know if we can find a specific instance of something. So I'm going to say QString myvar, you can call this whatever you want. And we're looking for the word hello. We can just simply say if lst dot, and then narrow that down to contains, and we want to know if it contains that right there. If it does, well, all this contains is going to do is return a bool. So now I want to find the actual position. So I'm going to say int, let's call this index equal lst dot index of, because remember, this is a zero-based index. And I myself have slipped up many times and said this is a zero-based array. And then people go, I thought you said it was an array. It's not, it's a container, but it's a zero-based container. And then we're just going to say myVar because we want to know where that is, and we'll get the actual position. And then we can just, if we wanted to, say, oh, okay, so LST dot the value, and it wants to know the location here. So then we can just give it the index. And in case you're wondering, yes, we could have condensed that all down basically to one line, but I'm really breaking it down just to show you each individual command. We've got contains, index of, and value at a specific index. Save run, see what that looks like. Ta-da! Hello. Now, spoiler alert, index of is going to return a -1 if there's no index. So we probably should have done another if statement right here. When in doubt, you can just simply go into the documentation and, of course, just thumb your way through there. There's a lot of it. There's a lot more than what we've covered. So all of QList functionality also applies to QStringList. So if you're ever concerned about what you can do, just hop into QList. And there is just a metric ton of documentation on QList because it is kind of Qt's de facto container. And you can do virtually anything you can think of with this. It's just awesome.